Hi, welcome to my next vlog. We're here at Anneke Hendricks Racing Stables. This is Anneke Hendricks. We're here with our vet Henk Offerijns to show you how we manage tendon injuries with equinetendon.com. So, we're going to show you everything.
Okay, Anneke, the horse, 7 years old?
7 years old filly.
Had an injury last year?
Last year, and after 5 months back, I trained her again.
Yeah.
And she was ready to race in 4 or 5 weeks. And she has again a tendon injury.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's something, of course, we often see, but the fear is of every trainer. Is you think you're there, the horse feels good, and then out of the blue, or suddenly there's swelling, or what I think what we miss in that protocol traditionally is information that will help us to assess the tendon to the level that you need to know at that moment in time. So initially, if you scan a tendon, traditionally with an ultrasound, you would look at density differences. So you look at a hole in the wall, let's say, and the ultrasound will come into the wall and bounces back, and where there's a hole, it doesn't bounce back. So that's a black thing. So recognizing the hole in the tendon is relatively straightforward. But what happens then is that this hole will be filled up with basically a blood clot, nothing else than on your skin. That blood clot will organize itself and fill up the hole. Now, and what traditionally we're doing is letting this hole fill up, and then we're going to exercise. And we do that under ultrasound guidance. Often we scan it and now the hole is filled and now we're going to run. Or at least train. Now, but the problem is that if that scar, that hole fills up with scar tissue, and again, that is normal scar tissue, the same as on our skin and anyway, tendon cells don't grow back as effect. So the scar tissue has to start acting as if it is a tendon cell. The only way you can do that is by putting loading on these cells, on the scar tissue. If you don't put the loading in, it will be a scar. Scar is not elastic and will rip again. So where we, I think, making a lot of achievements at the moment is that we're able to see, using tissue characterization, what type of fiber is actually sitting in that hole, and does that respond on the exercise you're giving in the way we think it should be given. So if we scan a follow-up scan and there's too much scar tissue, too many blue fibers, then the tissue is not triggered enough. It needs to be triggered more to get more elastic. And by doing that, you can guide the rehabilitation far beyond the point of there's a hole or there's no hole. Now, and what UTC allows us to do is basically look at fiber types within the tendon. So the screen fibers are basically the most elastic ones, and they slide. If you look at it like that, it's like fibers sliding along each other. And a normal tendon, if they're strained, will do this and come back. Now, blue on the tissue characterization scan would be fibers. They're organized, but not fully organized. So they're cross-linked a bit. So they're not as flexible. So what you get is, if this is pulled, it doesn't stretch as much. The elasticity is less, and it's more tending to break. It might not break. It might just break a bit. Now, with rehab, what you want to do is that this scar tissue, that you get the least amount of this scar tissue, that from straight away you get organization of the fibers. So the trick is to exercise an awful lot more than we traditionally do early in the lesion, without breaking it. And if horses can't handle the strain, then we have a device designed that will support, that's a dynamic brace, which will allow you to train them without the peak load. So you can adjust your peak load on the tendon. Now, and that bridges the gap between doing nothing, letting the hole fill up with scar tissue, and then starting again. So we're aiming to have exercise from basically day 1 or week 1 in a calculated setting, and we can analyze whether the exercise the horse is getting is actually enough to organize the tendon, and you can adjust the exercise accordingly. And that's what we do. Now, in this case, we've had an old injury and a new injury. So what I expect to see in the scan is that we're going to see a lot of blue, maybe the scar, and somewhere around that scar is new fiber type, and that would be your red fibers, because they're separated fibers. And depending where it is, you can make a judgment of how good the prognosis is going to be or what kind of plan we're set up. The issue with older injuries is you have an area in the tendon that is relatively scarred. There's another area that is not scarred, and on the zone, on the breaking zone, there's different stretch abilities. That's often where you rip. And that makes it so hard because you start traveling through a tendon. And you run out of space, literally. And the lower you go, generally speaking, the harder it is to get them right. So I think we should make the scan see where we are, and then sit down and see well, how bad
Make
it is,
a plan.
and make a plan going forward. Is that, yeah? Is that all clear? Good. Okay. Do you have any questions before we start?
The price of it, can you explain
Well, it's
how
always-
to work?
I realize, because it's always the thing, of course, price is important. I think in the scale of things, standard fee for tissue characterization is about €250. But the value of the machine is that you're able to repeat scans in order you can track a young horse that is going to go off the grades or an injury. So we tend to, or what I always like to offer is 5 scans, and then the price drops to about 10%, which gives us the benefit that we can follow a horse and the client the benefit that they get maximum support. So that's money, but I think all the information we're gathering is very useful. And not only post-injury, we do more and more horses where we do preventive. So 2-year-olds that get in training, sport horses, inventors that get constantly up the grades. Every time you make a step, you see what the effect is. And then that type of money should be worth it, because you should be able to avoid your injury or see weaknesses coming in.
And then the treatment?
Well, I think what's changed a lot lately is that because we are able to exercise more, because we can guide the exercise, we can get a lot more results out of regenerative factors. Like PRP is actually getting an older one with the stem cells, but growth factors themselves activating with things like shockwave. But proactive exercise treatment. Actually, the funny thing is, since I do this, I use less and less medicine because there's more and more emphasis on exercise of the horse rather than the treatment. And I think traditionally veterinary medicine at the moment is very focused on we need PRP, we need stem cells. But if you do those treatments and you don't get your exercise right, you're wasting your money. So exercise, time, 3-4 times a day, busy with that horse, a lot of regulated, well-trained circumstances, that will make this a success. Leaning on treatments is not going to fix it then, if you don't get the exercise right. And that's why I like this protocol so much. We can evaluate the exercise. And that is, I think, the biggest achievement and the biggest change in these protocols. Okay. Yeah, we can start?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So as you see, Henk is preparing the horse for the UTC scan. So I show you the yard. Such a nice yard, very light.
Yeah. So what happens now is that the tracker is standardized in distance, so it can make 600 images of the tendon while it's tracking down. So it's priming itself now. So we start scanning now, and you will see it will move very slowly down. And while it's running down, it makes, as I said, 600 images of the tendon, and the computer then will put them together to make a full image of the tendon.
And the horse has to stand completely still, Henk?
Yeah, 40 seconds, no movement. Sounds short, but sometimes it's a very long time. Okay, so this is the image that we just made. The beauty of the technology is that we can actually scroll through the whole tendon. This is the image that you normally see in a traditional ultrasound. It combines the 3 images basically to a 3D image here. And what I always really enjoy is the fact that you can kind of scroll through the tendon. So here's where the knee is, that's where the fetlock is. I can start at the top of the tendon and basically pick any spot where I think that I want to know more of. Now you can see here there's an area of interest because it's abnormal in its color, and I can pick that area out. But I can also see that at the top of the tendon there's less. I mean, there's some shadows there, but to see the whole tendon in one image is, I think, a very useful tool. Here we see the what they call the surgeon's view. If I would basically open, if you would stand behind the horse and you would cut the skin open, this is the image you're going to get. The tendon sheet opens, we look into the tendon now, and we can kind of scroll through the tendon again in a three-dimensional manner. That will give us a lot of information on how lesions and how abnormalities live in the tendon. Now the next step is that we highlight the different fiber types. Now, the computer has done that for me, it has processed. You can see here the green fiber types, which are healthy, normal. Here can we see the old scar. This horse is a re-injury, so there's too many blue fibers, less elastic tissue. That is acceptable, a horse can race with this. The problem is that if I go further down to this area, we see the blue area with red dots. That means there's fiber separation. So this area hasn't been able to withstand the loading that it was given. Whatever loading that is, I can see that the tendon is damaged there beyond, let's say, adaptation. And now we have to decide how we're going to deal with this situation.
Okay, that's super interesting. Yeah.
Okay, I think what we decided is we're going to treat it with growth factors to stimulate the quality of healing. But essentially is the amount of exercise the horse is getting. So if we start with a walk-trot protocol, fairly aggressive, we'll work it out together. I think the most value we could have is to scan in 4 weeks, maybe 6, and see how she responds on that exercise. If that is positive and the fiber structure is improving, I think it's well worth continuing. If she doesn't, then of course you'll most likely not have your race horse. And then you can still try, you can do different things. But my experience is with these type of lesions and the way the fiber is organized, it's the exercise needs to prove whether the horse is actually able to do it. And that's the beauty of the technology. We can actually assess the effect of the exercise. Now, and then we'll basically have to make a decision in a month's time whether we continue or not. And then the costs are relatively limited, and there's a good chance of getting to the next stage. Okay? Yeah? That's all.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the vlog about the equine tendons management of tendon injury. We're very thankful to Anneke Hendricks Racing Stables that we were allowed to show you the tendon injury. And if you like the vlog, please put your thumb up and subscribe to our channel. Till the next time. Bye bye. So, guess what? We're finally home after 2 days traveling. And then I've got here 2 vets on my kitchen table having Chinese food, but still assessing. Huh?
Beautiful cooking today.
Yeah, thanks. I'm such a good cook. But still assessing a UTC from South Africa. They don't stop working. So, can't you guys go and eat? What are you doing? Jesus, I can't believe it. So it's Henk Overijns and Isabel Janssens.
Ik denk al de vet zouden zien.
Jesus Christ. Okay, well, I'm going to eat. Bye bye.